Alright, welcome to the first video in this course. In this video, we'll be learning about what REST is. REST stands for Representational State Transfer. A REST service is a web service architecture designed to facilitate changes in web resources. So that definition can be kind of vague, so we'll break it down into pieces. Let's start off at the end and we'll work our way backwards. So what is a web resource? A web resource can be anything from a file such as an HTML file, or in our case, it will be a database table entry. So in our case, we'll use it. A web resource is a database table entry. So moving on further back in the definition, it is designed to facilitate changes. So facilitating changes is just making changes to our web resource. So our web resource in this case is a database table entry. So we will be making changes to our database table entries. Moving further back into the definition, it is a web service architecture. All that means is that this is the way, it's a specific design for a web service. A web service is a service that's on the internet. So basically, it's there if you need it. If it's not, then you don't need to use it. It's a service. So the service makes changes to our database table entries. That's, in our case, what REST is. So what does REST allow you to do? It allows you to communicate between a client and a server in a stateless manner. What is stateless? So in a stateful manner would be if the server keeps a record of what clients are connecting to it. So basically, if a client connects to the server will say, well, hey, who are you? Okay, when's the last time you accessed me? And it'll keep records of the state of that client. Are you logged in? And this, that, and the other. In a stateless manner would be the server doesn't care who's connecting as long as they're authenticated. And there are stateless ways of authenticating, and I will show you those during this course. Also, a REST web service allows you to persist and retrieve those web sources. So that's where the facilitate changes comes from. We will be persisting and retrieving our web resources, which in our cases are the database table entries. Also, REST is widely used today. So I know every job that I've been at, we've used REST. There was always a REST service somewhere in some way, shape, or form. So I believe that REST is very important for you to know if you're planning on being a developer of any sort. Also, there are more than just REST web services. There are many different types of web services. Some of the most prominent ones are SOAP web services, and the newcomer GraphQL has been. It was originally developed by Facebook, and it has been released to the public in. I think it has an open source license, so pretty much anyone can use it. SOAP is kind of. I don't want to say it's outdated, but it's definitely used less nowadays for newer companies. I think they're all going to the REST architecture. So SOAP, I would recommend that you do learn SOAP just in case you do get a job where either they are using SOAP or your company that you're hired by actually has vendors or clients that use SOAP, and you may need to make calls to their SOAP web services. But that is outside of the scope of this course. Also, GraphQL is very nice. You should take a look into that as well. All right, why you should learn REST, as I said earlier, is widely used in today's workplace. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons. If you want a job, you should know what's being used, and REST is definitely being used. Also, learning REST can help you learn Spring Boot, because a lot of times, like I said, there's a lot of applications that use REST. So you will be, you will learn Spring Boot while you're learning REST. So it's like it's a win-win. Also, you should always learn all that you can. If you hear about something and it interests you, go ahead and learn it. I mean, there's nothing that can, you can lose, even if nobody's using it. I mean, you just have the knowledge. So maybe you can probably come up with something even better in the future by mixing in something that you learned that nobody uses, something that everybody uses, and taking the best from both, and you can create a new way. I believe that's how GraphQL was created. But that's all for this lesson. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be heading to our next lesson soon. So see you later.